Welcome to Switch It Up. I'm Todd. I think I might be flying solo today. Sheila is actually on a phone call. I'm down here in the basement and I'm getting ready. I forgot that we ordered some gas stops and some miscellaneous things, and I'm working in the basement today. Sheila's been helping doing a lot of organizational structure for the basement because it was a chaotic mess. We thought, you know what? We did a whole interior video that you can see. Let's talk about everything on the outside because of all the questions that we've had, and maybe answer all of those questions, and then maybe some of the stuff underneath that I didn't cover when we did the boondocking video, that, you know, the additional questions. So let's do that today as I get busy doing a little work along with that. So roll the intro, we'll jump right back into it.
A man and a woman left their home to switch things up and go on the road. They didn't know where they would go, but it's gotta be better than staying home. They switched it up. They switched it up.
All right. The whole reason I decided to roll the camera anyway is because as we were unpacking everything from the chaos of, we've now been in the RV, I think about 5 weeks. So we're slowly settling in to everything. So we've been pulling stuff out of boxes that we just kind of shoved in. And as I was doing that, I was like, oh yeah, I ordered gas stops. And these become pretty important. And I've always wanted them. We never had them on our other RV. And when we built this, I was like, I really want gas stops. So I'm going to install these. I probably won't do it now because it's not hard. You just screw them on, right? But the first thing that we are going to receive is why do you only have 2 small propane tanks? Well, the thought process with that is the only thing that's running propane in our RV is the stove top, and then because the oven part is electric. So we really don't run anything propane. Even our hot water system is an aqua hot system that runs off of the diesel. With all that being said, we really didn't need a lot of propane. And the more I thought about it, wouldn't it just be easier if we were in certain situations that I could just exchange a tank versus having to find a place to fill? It'd just be better options for us. So we went with the 2 smaller tanks. Now, if we don't like these tanks, we can go with the bigger ones, they'll fit. But as of now, we've been running on this tank only, and it's been 5 weeks and we still haven't run out of propane. We've been cooking on our outdoor grill and the stove top. So far so good, knock on wood or metal or whatever. But we do plan on putting gas stops in because that was something that was always a concern of mine. So we got those taken care of. I think we got them from Techno RV. I can leave a link down below because some of the other things we got from Techno, oh, I got some really good stuff because I just thought about this too. I installed some water devices to detect water. In our last RV, we had a water issue that happened in a little basement area, and I was always like, well, there's got to be a way to detect it. So I found something through Techno RV, and I got those too, and I put them into one of the other bays. Not much in here. We've got these wonderful big plastic pads here that we throw underneath, and the plan is we've had them since the beginning for like boondocking or locations that we might need them. You're gonna ask, well, where'd you get them? I honestly don't know. They say, I brought a GoPro. See, so what I plan on doing is anything I'm talking about and you can't see it, I'm just gonna use the GoPro. They're made by Alltech Supply, and quite honestly, I am not sure. Sheila's dad got them, and they were in his RV when we inherited it. And they're basically 2 foot by like 18 inches, so they're huge. And the plan there is we'll use them when we are going to be boondocking. We can slide them up underneath, or maybe if we get in soft sand, I might be able to use them underneath the tires of the truck or the tires of the RV. So that's my thought process. We've used them a few times boondocking into some soft ground, so I really like them. I don't know where you can order them. I've never seen anything else like them, so I don't have a link to them. If I can find something, I'll put it down below. But that's all that's in this bay, really. I know, it's pretty exciting, isn't it? That was one of the questions. Another question we receive is like, well, what do we do with the other ones? Because this doesn't have a slide out or anything. Let me jump over to this one. This is awesome because here's the thing. We have unlike some of the other RVs that are out there, since this is all custom, there's a couple things. We can have access pretty much because our tanks are just tucked within our mid rail of the whole system itself. So we have access to different components, and I'll show you here. So we can get to all of our valves, we can get right up to the tank itself, and here's our tank sensors. So it's actually a really good system, which gives us a lot of different room, which is great. Now, I always wanted Mide Slides. Mide, when I contacted them, I was like, man, do you have like different sizes, things like that? And they said, absolutely. So this one is actually like a 60%er. And the reason is on the other side is our mini split system for our AC and heating and stuff. So this the slide can't go all the way through. So I was like, okay, that's no big deal. This is kind of like my junk drawer slide so far. We're still trying to figure out how I'm going to organize it. And then we have some event gear, weights and things that are tucked up in there. But golly, how did I make it? Well, the grand design momentum that we had a very small basement space. And that was one of the reasons we wanted to go something different so we could have more event space for all of our gear. But man, Mide Slides, thank you. Now I need to explain something. If you're going to put Mide Slides in, you are giving up a good 3 inches, right, from your base to have all the rollers and components, but they're fabulous. Over on this thing is a key component for the LED wall, which I'll go over here in a second, and show you how all that works, because we got a lot of questions on the LED wall. One of the #1 things we received when we were at the Tampa RV show was like, man, these steps, they just seem really high. And obviously we couldn't use a Mide step because the way the Mide system is, this is a semi chassis, so the difference in between the space would not span like we were thinking. Spacecraft started installing these, I believe, after they did the RV for Big Truck, Big Travel, and because they asked for something different and they came up with this design. The cool part about this design is that nothing goes into the RV and makes it dirty, right? So the way it's set up is it's all on a pivot system, and this system simply goes flat and then slides in. Guess I should have moved that. So everything is contained in here. Let me show you. Everything's contained underneath, so nothing falls down into the basement, and then we can actually just shut it up. Now, there are hindrances to this, of course, just like anything else. And that is that we kind of wish there was one more step, meaning like that way it wouldn't be so steep, but you have limitations on how wide your RV is for it to slide all the way across. So the question is can we add one more step? They're checking into that now, because it wouldn't be nice. We could adjust it by simply adding something underneath the bottom and then kind of making a faux step at the beginning of it. That would make the distance a less place to travel, because the way this is set, if I put something underneath it, this automatically adjusts. Good system, bad system. In the RV space, you're always kind of coming up and adapting anyway. This is what Spacecraft has come up with to adapt. So if you have any options or suggestions, I'm sure they would be open to them. Let's jump back to these other ones. Oh, yes. Okay. There's a lot of things happening in this bay. This is probably one of our main storage bays. And for this one, I'm probably gonna have to go inside to show you, like up underneath, so you can actually see all of the room. The cool part is there's so many things happening that this bay is actually interlinked into this one, which this one actually is for our concert system. So we have a wonderful, big, huge subwoofer that I can pull out and set on the ground when we want to use the system. And that's another speaker system we use for portable events. Now, if you watched the boondocking video, you saw that I was in here discussing how the water system is set up. The water system is basically coming from the main 150-gallon water tank or we can bypass the water tank and come straight in from city water. And that water comes in, and everyone gave different comments for different things. We currently are running into the soft water system first, then we're running into the 3-stage filter system for our whole unit, and then we run into a SymPure system, which is it's in essence a reverse osmosis system that doesn't have a tank. SymPure is who makes that. That simply only goes to our refrigerator for our ice and our water. So as we get water out of the refrigerator or ice out of the refrigerator, it has now been purified like 5 different times. Seems a little overkill, but the fact is we were using a Berkey for a lot of water, and we don't like to buy a lot of bottled water, so it seemed like the best system. Now, we discussed that more in the boondocking video if you really want to go into the weeds on that. I want to go up underneath so I can show you the room that we have. First off, this is not a place that I'm going to access often. So to us, this would be like your attic in your house. Okay, so this would be like the clothes that you're going to wear, or the seasons of change of clothing, or things that you're not going to get to all the time. That's what we're putting in between the 2 I-beam rails, and you'll see why when I go underneath. These I-beams are huge, like huge. I can't even believe how much steel is in here. We're rocking close to, I think in the video I said earlier, was like close to 45,000 pounds, right? So I'm going to crawl up underneath so you can actually see how much room is in here. It's kind of nuts. Here we go. I would turn on the, I guess I could. It's on the other side. I would turn on the lights, but usually I just slide things under here. But since I'm taking you with me, as you can see, we're stacking 2 of these main Home Depot boxes for clothing. And you can see how big these I-beams really are. I guess they're probably 12 inches, 14 inches I-beams that support the whole thing. And then people ask about, well, up under here, this is one of the main slide mechanisms. It's a screw mechanism that comes up and goes across. So as you can see, we have plenty of room that's in here. And then this, people ask, we're using an AquaHot system. And with the AquaHot system, it monitors all of the heat that is in this area, meaning that in the winter time, I can turn these on and this will heat this whole storage area. And these exchangers are in 3 different areas underneath the belly of the RV itself. It's pretty cool to see how they've worked it out. But there's so much room, quite honestly. Oh, I can get up here and sit. You can see that through this, you have a pass through all the way until the tires, in essence. So everything runs through. It's actually a unique system. It allows a lot of different things. Down here is something very special that when I crawl out, I want to share with you. Nobody said this would be easy. Three, two, one. All right, you see this little egg thing that's right here? This is amazing. Okay, there's a couple things going on. I was not aware that leak detection is a big deal. And since we have so much stuff riding right here with water, and on the other side we have water components as well, I was always concerned about water. Well, I found these are called RV Whisper, and I found them on Techno RV's website, and I ordered them. Oh, here's another component. This is kind of cool too. Let me grab it. They also sell this component system, RV Whisper. It goes to your phone. It can notify you and let you know temperature and humidity settings, which I put one here, and I basically just stuck it up on top so I know. And I can actually see those temperature settings from my phone, so when we're traveling back to Kansas City, I'll be able to monitor all the temperatures. Why would I need to do that? Well, there's important reasons, and I'll explain that when you come to the batteries in the back. Water though. Water is probably the #1 thing that most RVers worry about the most. And this little sensor has 3, let me do this, let me turn this on. It has 3 little metal sensors And those metal sensors, and they push in, when they detect water, then it sends a notification to my phone. And it's monitoring I think I have it set every 3 to 5 minutes. And that way I can know if there's going to be a problem. So I've placed one of these under the sink in our kitchen, which I find very important because we also have a dishwasher right there, right? And I put this one on this side, just kind of tucked it over to the side, and it just sets on the ground. It does run off a battery, and that battery is monitored also in the app itself, which is pretty cool. Let me see if I can pull the app up. And then on the other one is on the other bay of this same water place, and that's actually where my water pump is. And the reason I bring that up is in the past, in our Grand Design Momentum, we had an instance where the water pump had a leak, and that could have turned disastrous. But also where the water pump was right behind, and most of everyone that has Grand Designs or a lot of your different RVs, you know, you have all your plumbing in that wonderful network of knobs and things that you have to turn. And right behind there, a lot of times the hot water heater's right next to it, those O-rings will give out or something will happen. And when that happens, the unfortunate part is you have leak and you don't even know what's happening. And I just found this to be such a wonderful tool that I found by accident on their website. And I asked questions about it, and then they shared yes. So I have this marked as Switch It Up Beast. It tells me the basement, this is the water softener side, there's no leaks, it's still dry. It tells me the decibels, right? Here's there's my temperature reading and humidity by my desk. The fridge, I have the fridge, it's running 44 degrees right now just in the fridge, because I wanted to know, here's the other problem, is that as we were driving down the road, sometimes my truck would kick off the inverter on our Grand Design Momentum, and when it would kick the inverter off, we would drive for 4 or 5 hours and we'd get there and the fridge wasn't on. Now, if you have a propane, like, you know, the dual purpose fridge, that's not a big deal, but if you have a residential fridge, this became a big thing. And I put a temperature sensor in there, and then there's the basement, 81 degrees outside, 70% humidity, tells me the battery, how much juice is still left on the battery. These things are pretty stinking cool. At first, I wasn't sure if it was gonna work, but then I was like, you know what? This answers a lot of questions. Now, I understand with some of you that might have pets, you might be using like a waggle system or something like that. Well, quite honestly, they're just monitoring the temperature anyway. This is actually these temperature sensors. You could get additional ones, put them in different places. The system, I don't even know how many it can run. I'm running 3 temperature sensors and 3 water sensors in this, which is great. Thought it was an amazing find. So far, I'm really enjoying it. Now it comes down to, why am I wanting to monitor some of this stuff? Let's jump into the other bays. If you're asking, okay, how does this sound system work? That's going to be in the next bay over, and I'll explain how the subwoofer links in. And underneath here, let me show you this. There's actually, I know I'm spending a lot of time in this bay because there's so much happening. In here is actually, there's a box that links to the computer for the sound system, so that anything we play on the computer can go to the LED wall and have the sound at the same time. But how do you monitor it? Well, we installed a whole sound system in the next bay. All right, now we get a lot of questions on this. What do you keep talking about a sound system? So on top of this RV is 2 speakers. They're RCF speakers. They are weatherproof speakers. They use them a lot in football arenas, things like that. And I found them as I was searching for solutions to have a concert system that would, think of it this way, let's say that we're going to have a whole camp out, and all of us, 200 of us are sitting out over here, 200, 300, 400, probably 1,000 people could be sitting out here. And if you have 3 decks, those decks could be used for musicians. Those musicians could play on any various level, or we could split them up. We could have on this deck, we could have maybe the keyboard player, bass player. On the back could be the drum guy, and on top you could have a couple lead guitarists and the lead singer or whatever, right? So think of having a full-blown setup, but you have to have a system to do said thing. Or We mentioned in one of the other videos, let's say that we are doing a disaster relief event and we've come in to try to help a community. Well, now we have a whole event system with the LED wall being out, with the concert system. We can have people on microphones telling people where to go. They have a platform they can stand on and be seen and visible. We've kind of thought through the whole thing. So in this bay, honestly, there's a lot of room down here, which I'll show you here in a second. But up here, it has a whole 16 channel board. Now, I am not some sort of guru when it comes to sound, but I did do a lot of research. And this board is made so that everything can funnel into it, from the computer at the desk inside to if I want a Bluetooth from my phone to it. I have the capability to run everything. Now, these components that are up here on top, these wires that are already plugged in, those actually run from the board up through the main channel, up to the roof to a box. They call that a snake. And that snake basically is a big, huge, thick cord with a bunch of wires in it. And those wires have junction parts. So like if a musician gets on top, he's got 8 channels. So he can do an in-ear monitor, he can have a microphone, he can have a guitar, he can have another guitar, another microphone. All of that's already up there, pumped right into this. So anyone that goes up on the top stage already has the ability to plug into this and run the whole system, in essence. I really like it. We've been using it for different things. I'm still learning because there's so much to learn, but I'm thinking now of all the additional applications that can be done. Down here, this is what starts some amazing things. All right, so this starts something pretty special. This is actually where our Enduro batteries sit. Now, they start here. We have 8 300 amp hour batteries. 4 of them run the length right through here. And then 4 of them are tucked up into the middle rail, kind of like what you saw over there where all that space was. They built a platform and then tucked 4 batteries up there. And then they all run to the battery monitoring system that's here. And then all of the wires run to the other side. We are running a 48 volt system. We're a little over 30.2 kilowatts, I believe. Now, that's not why I'm excited. If you've watched our video content in the past, yes, we have a lot more batteries than we've had in the past, but we have a need for those. I think what excites me the most about Enduro is their capacity, meaning that it's a 300 amp hour battery, but it's in a smaller footprint. So in our past goals, where we wanted to go home and see the kids, in order to go see the kids, we had a residential refrigerator. And the problem comes into play, that fridge, you don't want your food to go bad. And we wanted to be able to boondock long enough. So we wanted to seal it all up, have the batteries have enough power that if the sun was in the shade for 2 days or whatever, we knew that the refrigerator would be running okay. Now you understand why the temperature thing, the little thing, if I could have put it in the fridge, how cool that would have been. But we were rocking only 400 amp hours, which was 2 200 amp hour batteries. They took up a small footprint. I could have got 2 300 amp hour batteries and been at 600 amp hours. And that system right there I think is the great starting point for lithium batteries. And I say that because 600 amp hours is not enough to run your AC, but it is enough that when you pull into a Cracker Barrel at night, you don't have to run the generator. You can have a nice quiet night's sleep, watch TV until you're ready to go to bed, do all the things you want to, have your residential fridge be running. And if you don't have a residential fridge and you're using, the dual, then, think how much more energy you even have from that. Of course, yes, you can't run your AC, but that's okay because at night I run fans anyway. So boondocking is just a way better experience with lithium. I honestly think that's one of the very first upgrades you should do is lithium batteries. Second, probably comes into that mow-ride suspension, because busting leaf springs as much as we have, suspension is a great upgrade. But I'm thinking lithium and then suspension would probably be my 2 big caveats at that point. But Enduro batteries, you got to check them out because you don't really need a lot. You don't need a ton of solar panels up on top. It's just the perfect setup. So check them out. Only 2 300 amp hour batteries. I think they're like $1,400, $1,500 bucks. So for $3,000, you can have a lot more peace of mind Probably should just do it straight from the factory. But the cool part is that we have so much room in here, we actually started putting all our event gear. So these next 2 bays right here are all of our event gear. And what I mean by that is for our huddles. If you don't know what our huddles are, there's these amazing events we're hosting across the United States. So we have tents and extra sound systems and all the things that are needed, we host back here. And that's one of the driving mechanisms of why we needed more room. So back here, this is all event space storage. All right, so this is pretty cool. In here, I don't know, you're either gonna think I'm crazy or whatever, but that's okay. I have something called the EMP Shield that's in the system itself, and that's an electric magnetic pulse, meaning like if there was a huge, I guess a lightning strike could do an EMP, or a solar storm, a solar flare could do an EMP. Of course, a nuclear bomb could do an EMP. These things they'll short out all of your electrical systems, and they had come out with these EMP shields. And so we put an EMP shield on the RV itself. When we had it built, one of the main guys that works on the spacecrafts, he thinks it's all fuddy-duddy stuff, basically, to him. The fact is why not? I put it on there, it's like 350 bucks. And for me, if you're having all of these electronics with all the batteries and stuff, why not take the chance to have it work? We want to put one on the truck as well, because a lot of times when something like that happens, it shorts out the batteries and then you can't start your vehicle. So who knows? I don't know, but we do have an EMP shield that's on here and have it stuck back here. Let's talk railings. So the railings are actually aluminum. We kind of copied the design probably that you would see in a Brinkley, and they went a little bit thicker only because they wanted to match what was up on the top, so it had some sort of symmetry, which caused some specific problems because of how they fold down in and then they go up. As you can see on this deck, we stayed the standard where there's no leg, whereas on the side deck we went ahead and had a leg because there was no room with the special doors we put in for everything to fold up and have enough room without going into the RV more. So therefore we put legs on the other deck. And honestly, the legs, for stability's sake, I do really like. But the fact is that not all RV parks I'll be able to put the side deck down. So it was nice to be able to have one of the decks that we can put the chairs out. And the chairs just simply go into the office on travel day and then just come out. So they are I guess it's a Lippert door. They're made by Champion, but now Lippert owns everything. So they are waterproof. But that's kind of how the decks and the railings were designed. We're gonna jump over here and we have these bays to go, and then we're gonna end up on the LED wall. Now, I wish I could tell you these were super impressive, but to me, I mean, I think you've probably seen a lot of different setups when it comes to Victron, double quattros that are in here, and then we have our whole system that's set up. It's basically our fuse box, the fuse panel. Everything's already, the watchdog's already pre-wired in, so it's taken care of with a hose reel. Now, the quattro setup, you know, they're pretty stinking awesome, and they all kick on when needed. The cool part, though, is not having to think about when you disconnect, changing things over. It just automatically does it. I love every aspect of that. In here is how we have this set up for, with the extra batteries and extra storage. As you can see, you know, I have my Varla scooter stuck in there. It's honestly probably the only place I can put it at the moment. We haven't quite figured out if I can put it on the truck. Back here, this is the Victron component, so we can actually see how everything's being monitored. And here's something really neat. When I talked about the temperature settings of everything, batteries, lithium batteries, especially with as many as we have, and it's putting off so much heat with the quattros and everything underneath it, we went ahead and have a mini split system installed so that we can turn on the air conditioner to monitor the temperatures when they get super hot, or we can use that heat component that we talked about earlier to make sure that there's enough heat in here that the batteries don't get cold. I really like that. But the mini split system, I think if they could ever figure out how to do this in the RV space, man, it would be great. It really would make a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. But then again, there's a cost associated with it. We all know that in the RV industry, they don't necessarily go with that upgraded scenario, they look for most cost effective. So that's why we all get the Dometics, and I think GE just came out with a new heating and cooling system. I'm not quite sure for RVs. So, but that's what this bay is. One really interesting thing that's in here as well is there's 2 levers, and those levers, they got yellow handles. One's red, one's blue. Those levers actually empty the air into the bags. They actually empty the air that's in the axles back here so that the whole RV can sit lower. So that also helps with a lot of different things from the height perspective. So we generally will dump those bags and let the air out so it can sink, and then when we hook back up, everything goes back to the level. And you're asking, well, how tall are we? Can only be 13.6, people. Can only be 13.6. Alas, we're running out of time. There's a storm coming, so we're gonna hurry this up. This is our water system, and if you saw our boondocking video, I kind of went through this area and how unique it is, because we don't have all of that component that you would generally have in your Grand Designs and some of the others where you have all the knobs. Honestly, the water comes in, and when the water comes in, there's just a little T, and I can either throw all the water straight into the 150-gallon freshwater tank or turn it over to city. That's it. Then behind that sits the 𝐸𝐴 system. The 𝐸𝐴 system is something that you would see in probably a high-end Class A. And then we do have a small little electric tank, doesn't really hold a lot. And then that 150-gallon freshwater tank that will never be removed. And then behind all of that, back in the back, you're gonna find the freshwater pump, which is quite interesting. And this is that heat exchanger that I was talking about from that. And then this is just the full through that we were on the other side, what you're seeing there. It's actually pretty unique. I do like having these wonderful electric valves though. That really helps when it comes to dumping tanks. I kind of like that aspect. Never thought I would, but you don't know what you don't know. But I do like them. Still rocking the Valterra extra valve. If you don't have these, you need to get them. They're fabulous, especially when you have those moments where you pull the wrong lever and you don't want to just be sitting here wondering what's going to be on the other side of this. And they're cheap. You can get them anywhere. I'll put an Amazon link in here. But the Valterra valves, man, if you're a newbie in the space or you're doing whatever, definitely should get those. Bottle of hand sanitizer, always use that. I feel like we're playing, not Jeopardy. What is that? Pat Sajak or something. This is the slide that goes all the way through to our main area. That's the stairs on the other side. This is a full MoRide slide tray. I love this thing, but it's holding right now a bunch of miscellaneous stuff, but it does come out. I can pretty much slide things forward and get through everything on this tray. So therefore, where the stairs are, I don't have to worry about having to put the stairs up to get to anything, because I can get to everything on this tray. So this is the next organizational place that we have to focus on. But as you can see, all the tubes and everything run across the I-beams. They're all tucked away. On the other side, which we're not going to be able to see, there is a fuel filter here. This fuel filter is actually, we have a 50-gallon diesel tank on here for our generator that also works our 𝐸𝐴 system. So that's what the fuel filter is for. And then these are all the lines that run across, and those lines are actually goes to our mini split. The other thing is that we have 2 additional gray tanks right here. So we split up our gray tank storage. If you've watched the Boondocker video, gray tank storage, this is for the galley, which would be our dishwasher, washing dishes, and then also the rear bathroom sink all goes into here. And then the other, you know, from our bathroom, master bath, shower and stuff on the back is 2 additional gray tanks. Each one of these components are 90 gallons each. It's kind of a cool setup because we're not just dumping into one area. Okay, we're almost done. They're wonderful Onan commercial generator. Yeah, I think I've got a whopping, oh, I do. I have 20 hours on it. The fact is we don't need it very often because of all the solar and the batteries, We've used it on occasion because we do not run like some of the components on batteries because it would just suck them down dry. So a couple times we've used the generator, well, I mean 20 hours worth, but it is a 12 kW. So it is a little bit bigger than what you'd normally see in your RVs. And then over here is actually a fuel tank register. And we've only used 25 gallons in 5 weeks because we boondocked for 10 days, 12 days, 14 days, something like that. So we did use it. Down over here is this wonderful component and how we level, because we get this question a lot. How is the leveling system? All right, this, just like anything else, seems to be unique. So I don't know if they call it a Bigfoot system or what the technical term is it. I have a nice little storage area here, and this is actually this area where I store like the leveling blocks, things that I want to put underneath the feet. There's only 4 leveling areas. There's 2 on the front, and then there's 2 jacks that sit in the middle of the 2 rear tires. Oh, it does say Bigfoot. It's a Bigfoot system. It's what you'd normally see on most of them. They're all generally attached to something. The reason this isn't attached to something, and the reason that this has this long cord, is that when we're hooking up the truck, you want to have some visual cue on things and be able to maneuver it as needed. So therefore, when they do this, they actually put it on a big cat cord, and that we can actually walk pretty much, I mean, there's a lot of cord. I can walk all the way to the front as I'm trying to hook up. And most of the time we're leveling manually. They do have an automatic leveling system thing on this, but the fact is that you're not using it. When you're getting unhooked from the truck, you're generally as level as you can be, and then you make adjustments accordingly and after you get off the truck. And it doesn't take that long. It's just easier to manually do it. When they first told me that, I was so used to using the automatic leveler on the Grand Design, I was like, ah, come on. But no, it's pretty easy. And then if this cord ever goes bad, I guess we just replace the cord. I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't seem like there's that much technology. Sometimes not having a lot of technology is a better thing. Okay, and then right here, of course, the mini split system, which is feeding the 3 ACs. Right now, I don't know, yeah, she's got all 3 ACs on. So it's really quiet. Our bed is actually right above here, so we don't have to listen to like some huge rumbling or anything like that. We're on to the very end, and that would be the LED wall. The question we have the most on. Let's go check it out. The wonderful, crazy idea of putting an LED wall on the front of an RV. So with the perspective of having events and having 200 and 300 and 400 or 1,000 people sitting here with the concert system and the LED wall that cranks out so we can all hang out together, that was the idea of the LED wall. A way for entertainment, a way to, maybe if we're doing a disaster relief component, that we could post things on the wall on where a loved one might be, or where they're taking people because they're finding them, or maybe initializing and trying to strategize on where all the volunteers are going to go for the disaster relief. So if we get to work in that component, which we're hoping we are crossing all the T's, dotting the I's, that we can actually start participating and bringing you along with us as things happen. This is a long range goal. But the LED wall for now is pretty much just fun. We can put whatever we want on it. It's a big computer screen. We can have a family night and just play games on it if you want. I mean, think about that. We could all play Mario Kart. Be a big Mario Kart. It's about 8 foot by 7.5 foot tall. So, and the crazy part is when we went to Spacecraft to tell them we wanted to do the LED wall, they laughed. They said, we can figure it out. We figured it out. The cool part is there's a couple components that you're probably not aware of, because I wasn't aware of, because I wasn't educated on LED walls at all. Honestly, it just runs on a 110 switch. All I got to do is go into the closet where it sits on top of the dryer, and I just turn a switch on like a light switch, and then boom, it's on. The second component is I had Spacecraft run the wires from the wall through everything, and it goes down underneath and then comes back up in my desk area. So there's a box right underneath the desk that plugs into an HDMI, and we can run whatever we want. I can actually take my keyboard and mouse out to a picnic table outside and treat this like a big computer monitor. And with the sound system kicked on and everything, it has so much potential to do different things. I think we might see LED walls on other things in the future. I just don't think anyone's really thought about it before. What are you doing? Where are you going? She was trying to sneak away. She was on a conference call doing events. Okay, I want to show you a component on this, which I thought was very unique that they came up with, because we didn't want it just to sit flat on the front of the RDB. We wanted it to have different components. So let's show you that. Pretty much what we did is we installed 2 different latches that sit here. The wall itself is individual tiles, and I think you'll be able to see that better once I pull this out. It's kind of windy, so I'm not going to go too berserk on this because I don't want to get caught with this huge weight getting caught in the wind like a sail, because I'd have to go and get the bracing mechanism. Right here, it sits tight. We want it to sit tight on a buffer. So this little buffer that sits right here helps it push up when it comes in. The cool part is, so we're gonna watch this wind because this could get rough here in a second. You know what? I might just use my GoPro and talk to you a little bit, if that's okay. You can get a close-up of stuff. So each one of these has individual tiles. So this is like the main mechanism that goes here. Then there's 4 individual panels on each one of these. Now they all have to be wired together so that the wall knows how to communicate and how to send the feed to it, which I didn't realize this. It was something that we had to learn through the process. And spacecraft never have done this before either, so this was all news to them. Then they're all treated with these data cables and the cables for power, and they all run into that other mechanism. So they made all of this out of aluminum, and then we just had it painted so it could be matched. The cool part, it's made by, because people are asking, Diplo X HD3. And I will tell you this, we found this because of searching. There was so many different manufacturers when it comes to LED walls that they are not all the same. This one goes off of pixels. So it's a 3.9 density pixel, which means that from a distance of about 20 to 25 feet, it gives a very good quality picture. If you go higher in your pixels, if you get into that 5, 6, that's a bigger pixel, and it's further apart. I don't know if it'll actually, you can see the dots and how small they are that kind of come through here. So the bigger, when the pixel gets bigger, then you got to be further away to actually see it. Here's the other part. If any one of these panels, we have extra 7 different of these additional panels. So if one goes out, like right now we have one that we're questioning up on the top that's giving a green line. We may have to change that one out, and then you can actually send that in and they will change out those individual pixels and send it back to you. Quite interesting. You're going to ask cost. If you watch the RV Revolution documentary, which I suggest that you do, let me shut this, you can see every aspect of this build. The wall itself, the first time we got a price on it, it was $80,000 from one manufacturer. And I was like, there's no way we're gonna get a wall. The second one I believe was over 50,000, and then there was like a 60,000. This one we found actually right around the $20,000 range. Now you're sitting there thinking, I was like, that's still like the price of a car. But in the long run, there's so many different applications to it that I think it'll weigh out. Now that does not include the cost spacecraft charged to build all the mechanism here. I'd have to look back through in that. I think it's going to be around that $6,000 to $7,000 range for the manufacturing of the frame itself. It is on there tight. People ask, well, what's going to happen, you know, with bugs hitting it? Well, the truck covers the front of it because the truck sits about 4.5 feet in front, so the wind whips around it. This is all enclosed, and therefore it can sit in the wind and the rain and the snow and the sleet. It was made to be that. And as you can see, with all of the mechanisms and stuff that we have, it works great. And there's only like 2 cords. Those 2 cords are up on the top. And what we did was that, I'll show you this. All of these different, this whole thing is a separated box, and these bolts actually go through the whole wall to support the frame. And honestly, I could probably put a hammock underneath it and be supported. You see these two huge bolts that are here? Those bolts, which with the wind kicking up and stuff, you put this big, huge bar on it and it can lock into different areas and articulate all the way up to, I think they have it set to 120 degrees. So we can actually sit out there and you can have it tilted towards us so we can do all those fun, crazy things that we had talked about. I'm gonna read you the final stats on this. As of March of 2024, when we picked it up, they have a GVWR at 52,000 pounds. The dry weight was 43,640 pounds. So that kind of gives you the overall dimensions, and we're 54 feet long. And it is known as a travel trailer. And the reason for that is it's hard to get insurance otherwise because it doesn't have a motor. So if you're ever gonna do something like this, you gotta understand travel trailer is what it's classified as, and the truck is also an RV, and it's classified as a toter home with a hitch to pull a travel trailer. All right, let's jump over and conclude. All right, well, that pretty much wraps it up. You might have some additional questions. We'd love to hear them. Put them in the comments down below. It's nice to be able to check all these off because as we travel, we're back into the season of going out and doing things. We're on motorcycle rides, we're hiking, we've got some huge things planned for off-roading this year. All the questions, we're gonna get them all answered. People can come back to this video whenever they have a question or maybe spark some ideas and something that you're doing in the future, or maybe find some items that you can add to your own RV. When we leave the RV, generally, we have security and we have 4 cameras. And these cameras I found, I was using blink cameras before on the last RV. These cameras, I actually really like them. I found them on Amazon as well. I'll put a link down below. And they're very crisp, very clear. They're easy. You can talk through them, listen through them. You can have all those components so that when we leave the RV, we have peace of mind that everything's going to be taken care of. And it's not necessarily when we're in an RV park that we freak out about. It's more or less when you want to leave it and you want to fly home. You want to be able to monitor all the things. So I want to monitor all the things on the outside, maybe have a camera on the inside. Then I want to know the heat in all the different components from the refrigerator down below. And then I want the options to be able to change things if we need to, or call somebody to come over and turn on an AC a little cooler or do whatever that needs to happen. So I am kind of geeky when it comes to trying to figure out how to monitor stuff and have a little bit of peace of mind. So if any of those items are of interest to you, I'll put those links in the comments, I'll put them links in the description, and maybe, just maybe, we found something in RV life that might have sparked your interest from, I don't know, the reverse osmosis system to whatever. We just took all the components from living on the road for 3.5 years and shrunk them into a package like this. The storm's upon me, so I'm going to go batten down the hatches. With all that being said, thanks for tuning in today. Sheila is coming back with our food so we can grab something to eat, and we'll catch you on the flip side. And we're out.